when we protest, we're protesting that the war is illegal due to there's no justification. So for instance, Iraq, you know, a lot of lies went into their weapons of mass destruction and stuff. So that's called jus in bellum. That means it's supposed to be quote unquote a just war, not a war of aggression. Okay, so that makes the whole thing illegal.
Right.
That's what we usually focus on. There's the other thing that the military lawyers focus on, and that's jus in bello. Those are the technical rules, the Geneva Conventions. So if you, whether the war is good or bad, when you capture the other side, you're not supposed to execute them. Those are those in bello. Okay, so those laws, in bello laws, that they have, there's four main things: necessity, proportionality, and there's two others. Those are uncharted. So if you're killing, how many percent civilians can you kill? Okay, no one knows. Of course, the Obama administration. And what's the process for getting on the list? These are all secret memos. And the
for being targeted by these.
Right. Number one, for even, because there's no due process. You don't have an ability. Let's say your neighbor calls you in. This happened with at least a third of the Guantanamo detainees. That they were just the victims of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Their neighbors didn't like them. They called in and a bounty was paid. So there was a few hundred on Guantanamo. So if you had a court process, they were clear. They've died. 9 of them have died. Completely innocent. The last one who committed suicide was completely innocent. Cleared everything. So the reason our judicial process exists is accuracy. You know, otherwise they could just go out and scoop people up. When I worked in New York City, we kind of knew who some of the mafia leaders were. Can you imagine if we didn't have court, we could have just gone out and shot them, you know? John Gotti got off 3 times. We knew he was a mafia guy. But we have this process for a reason, for a very pragmatic reason. Okay, with drones, it's basically an execution order, and there is no factual evidence. If anything, it looks like it's a secret presentation by a guy named the assassination czar, Brennan, who was actually a part of the he was part of the torture under Bush. Brennan was named the drone, what's it called? He's got a counterterrorism official name, but he's called the assassination czar. There's a presentation to Obama, who then says, you know, yes, this, and it even includes teenagers, they're okay target. Well, this is completely, of course, going to lead to, if every country, can you imagine, if we're setting a legal precedent, this is the problem with torture too, if we're setting a legal precedent that waterboarding, since the United States did it, and now Uzbekistan and Syria and Egypt. So from a legal perspective, the drones have this terrible possibility, susceptibility. Now just being spreading
By
around.
that you mean that other countries could use them, or just the lack of due process to identify the targets?
If they, there's no, again, uncharted territory with the law.
Yeah.
76 countries are getting drones. Only 3 countries so far have used armed drones: U.S., UK, and Israel. Okay. But these other countries are all getting the technology. The terrorist group, the PKK, that are on our so-called terrorist list, brought down a drone yesterday. Or it crashed. It crashed somehow in Turkish territory. So this technology, even if the United States is not licensing it to other countries, and we are licensing it to 76 countries now have it. So I was just explaining to somebody else, the difference between use of drones for arming and bombing has all these problems with due process, setting precedent, and escalating, because the 1,500 or so people, I think, is the figure I've read. People have been killed, 200 children. But there's no way that this is going down. It's not like you can say, well, we've killed all the people that were on our list, because it just keeps expanding. So it's thousands, whatever. There's no answer with drones. That's the arming part. The surveillance part, which is what they're training to actually, if I understand right, the reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, and the surveillance that the military surveillance drones are doing is to aid and to be more precise or careful with the target.
They told me that the type of drones that they'll be training with here are not the armed type of drones.
Right, but they're working in tandem.
Yeah.
So when they get information, and there's a good op-ed in yesterday's Guardian by a pilot, a drone pilot, captain of a drone pilot, who in 2010, and he said, well, I had my sights on a guy, I thought it was a guy planting an IED, and he waited a few minutes, he luckily waited a few minutes, and he finds out it's a kid. Okay, he came this close, and so he's writing this very critical piece about the accuracy of drone bombing. Yeah, yeah, and it's called. I have it in my car. I can give you a copy of the article. I brought a couple copies. If you want to hold this, I will get you the copy for you. But the other part.